Hi, we have here Zachary Akinberry, CEO and founder of Hook Security. Zachary, welcome.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. This is great.
What is Hook Security?
Oh, that's the great question. So, Hook Security, we solve the one size fits all security awareness training problem, right? So, we're a relatively new company in the marketplace, going on 3 years old. And the fun thing that we get to do every day is take the latest in psychological, neurological, and education research, and we bring it to your security training experience so that companies can begin to change their human behaviors.
So, psychological and human behavior, behavioral science, and security, that is something very novel. Explain that, how those two things fit together.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with a quick understanding and level setting that from our point of view, the security world, that is information security, InfoSec, has done a tremendous job over the last 20 years securing the technical infrastructures of companies. Now, some companies are more or less secure than others, and the threat is always evolving, and there's always technical threats out there. But as everyone knows who's in this space, the greatest threat and greatest asset in your company are your people. And people are continually introducing security threats through things like clicking on phishing emails, which the latest Verizon support, report still shows that 90% of all successful breaches involve or begin with a phishing email of some sort. And so that's the failure point. So we said, hey, we might not actually have a technical problem on our hands in security. What we might have on our hands is a human issue, a cultural issue, a training issue. And so Hook Security, we are laser focused on resolving that for organizations across the board.
So, for readers of Thinking Fast and Slow, what
Mm.
system one or system two technique are you using? Is it a nudging? Is it a some other heuristic you're using? Let's dive
Yeah.
deeper into the behavioral science aspect of
You
your.
want to get right into it. Okay, so step number one before we start differentiating the training experience for people, right? So where the world's headed to is companies are going to begin to consume training content like they would their Netflix queue, right? Every individual employee is going to be able to see which videos or movies or playlists are recommended for them versus their role, their interests, etc. That's where the world's moving to. It's not on the market yet, but as far as that might be your thinking slow pace, the thinking fast or the step one where we're focused on right now is frankly just getting people to see. Okay, so the act of seeing is a psychological phenomenon, right? Your eyeballs capture a tremendous amount of data all day long, but you really only see something like 5 to 10%. You only see the things that have value to you. Like when you're walking around a room, and if I brought 100 people into a room and they all came out and I asked them what they saw in the room, largely, actually, 90% of people would see the same things in the room. They would see the tools, the things that have utility to them. Now, the question with phishing emails and security threats, et cetera, in step number one, what we're focused on is getting people to see a threat. In order to see something, you have to value it. So what we're trying to get people to do is actually value their email at a higher level so that they can begin to recognize counterfeit emails and authentic emails and start to see the difference. That's step one. And so that's your thinking fast. Like, how do we get fast and get that
But
engaged in people?
how would someone do that if they're getting bombarded with founders like me on cold emails, like please open my email, and the other 10,000 salespeople bombarding people with emails? Like, how do you not go back to your automatic response, neurological response of just touching and moving on or whatever you need to do?
That's right. So we are talking about a new practice or a new cultural habit for folks. So like to get out of the rote response and to start asking themselves, you know, is this authentic or not? Am I being manipulated? Is a great question, because even marketers who send cold emails are trying to manipulate you into a click, even if they don't have nefarious intentions and they're not trying to get you to download some sort of malware or the like. They are trying to manipulate you into scheduling a demo with them, or following up and downloading their latest ebook or something along those lines. They are trying to get you to take action. The question is, can we raise the consciousness of people so that they are aware of the choices they make? Are they unconsciously clicking on things, or are they doing it by a deliberate choice? So what we like to do is non-punitive training experiences where we send out phishing simulations and the like. That's something that's pretty common in the marketplace. How we position them is a little different, in that what we're trying to do is give people a place where they can um, absorb and understand and learn why an email might be manipulating them or not. So we have both at point of incident training. So when somebody does click or something on one of our phishing tests, we provide them a very detailed, humorous 45 to minute video training. We follow up on longer training formats that, again, are like SNL skits, so that people are they're engaged through their humor and not through their call it horror or negative response emotions. And they're doing it in a non-punitive way, so that the company is providing a safe place for people to practice and learn what communication's authentic and what communication's inauthentic or counterfeit.
And how has that worked? Any examples which illustrate the power of this nudging at the spot rather than once a quarter training?
Yeah. So on one level, I'm going to tell you a really cool psychological study, and then on the other, I'll tell you Hook Security's work. There's this famous study where they took an office back when we all were in offices, and you had your little common coffee area, and they put a little jar out that was the honor system, $1 for a cup of coffee, right? Um, what was the compliance rate of people putting money into that versus just taking a cup of coffee for free, right? It was about 50%. About 50% of people would pay
So
a dollar for the
50% of
coffee.
the people did not took the coffee without putting any money in on an honor principle, and then 50% follow the honor principle of putting a penny in the whatever they need to put.
Yeah, right. Like, and that's pretty generous. Like, most people don't pay for NPR, but still listen to it. But
Yeah,
uh, what there was one thing that they did that surprised them, that got that compliance rate almost 100%. You know what that is?
to put a
They
sign there.
No, not a sign. A sign increased some of it, but it didn't increase all of it. They put either a stuffed animal with eyeballs or a set of googly eyes, the glasses that have the googly eyes on them, on top
Wow.
of the coffee. And that, when people feel seen, when they believe there's eyeballs on them, they act differently. And so one of the things that is pretty important to us is that when you're training people, you have to let them know. You don't try to trick them. That's one of the ways that people are abusing phishing simulations right now, is they're not telling their employees, hey, we're trying to train you on this, so we want you to be aware that there are emails coming at you that are phishing simulations, that are trying to see if you click, so that we can understand how to better train you as a company, right? That's a superior approach. Now, Hook Security, when applying that approach, we find that when we do a baseline test with any company, on average, about 30% of people will fail. If I send out an email to you on Friday at 4 o'clock and I say, hey, commissions are changing, about 30% of your company is going to click, especially if they're driving home from work and they're at a stoplight. They're going to look at their mobile
Wow.
phone and say, holy crap, what are you doing to my commissions, and click. Now, over the course of right now, we're trailing about 8 months, because we test the vast majority of all of our clients are getting the same test every month, so we can actually have a nice lab for us. That number is falling to less than 5% over the course of 8 months. That's not perfect yet. We do have a number of companies that have reached 0%. However, that's not always a healthy sign either. You want to have a company that is making sure that they're continually trying to understand and calibrate themselves properly, because just saying I'm not going to ever open or click on an email is naive, right? It is not a way to function in our economy, and it's not a way to actually optimize your business process. It slows down business. So that policy is not an effective one. So what we're trying to do is calibrate one that's effective for the company over time. So
Got it.
does that make sense?
That makes sense. And you were supposed to you mentioned you were going to give an example from Hook Security's case studies also.
Oh yeah. So well, I can tell you there's a statewide Department of Transportation, and one of the things that I found out about a lot of Department of Transportations around the country is uh, there are states in which they require employment to be offered to everybody regardless of education level. And a lot of DOTs are actually like that. It allows for more equitable playing field.
Sure.
And so, you know, this particular Department of Transportation had something like 5,000 inboxes. And so when we came out and did our first test, guess the failure rate. This was just on a, hey, your salary information is being updated.
50%?
Yeah, it was about 60%. 60% of people.
On the email.
We had such an issue with the help desk because I believe there were over 50 tickets in which people changed their banking information, afraid that they just got hacked.
Wow.
Even though we told them at that point, like once they click, we're like, oops, this is not a real thing. You're okay. And we try to pull that back very quickly because we don't want people going down that rabbit hole. And what we saw after just 2 months, because immediately we said, well, we need to let this organization know we're not tricking them. We're going to put together this 10-minute video that allowed people to understand what's going on in their organization, why they received it, etc. Within 2 months, we were less than 10%. And now we're again down under 5% after training them for 2 years. And so that's an example of just sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And, you know, the entire security team was blown away that when somebody says, hey, we're changing your payroll information, upwards of 50% of their engineers and people with email inboxes would give banking information or attempt to immediately.
Especially in legacy organizations, we saw this with the water plant in, I think it was in Florida, whatever, through the team viewer. It was, again, some sort of a similar phishing attack. But I know you guys have a long wait list, but how do people get hold of you, of Hook Security? I'll post it on the notes. What's the best way?
Yeah, you can find us on online, of course, hooksecurity.co. I'm happy to share my email because I actually am a fan of email, which is Zach, ZACH at hooksecurity.co.
Got it.
Yeah, we'd love to engage with you, especially on LinkedIn. As you can imagine, as a security company, we're not very heavily involved on the Facebooks or Instagrams or TikToks, but you can find us on the LinkedIn, and we're happy to engage with you and talk to you about the future of security training and what that looks like and where we are headed with the trends moving forward.
No, this was a very important topic, unappreciated. And even if someone has a security training program in place, it behooves you, just because it's one of your kind of bigger vulnerabilities from a human angle, to at least look at it and see if there are better solutions out there. So hooksecurity.co, Zach, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your thoughts with us. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Likewise. It's been great.
Bye.